Oh, YouTube, roninkaze, Dyson. Let me see if I can, is it gonna work? Nope. Trying to do it left-handed, YouTube. There it goes. And the volume, YouTube. Jeez, oh beats. All right. Well, I did it, YouTube. After a lot of work, I loaded Cachy onto my Legion Go. It has a game mode. If you've ever seen a Steam Deck has like a, if you ever loaded SteamOS, it has like a TV view, or I think you can do that even in Steam now, where it just shows your games. And that's what Cachy kind of defaults to. First off, like, subscribe, share, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Buy me a cup of coffee if you want. What you're seeing now are some of the tools that are in CachyOS that are specifically for handhelds, and this is for the Legion Go. It works for Legion Go. So I started very early this morning, and my plan was to load the Linux onto a removable drive, which was SDHC 1 terabyte, and then just run it off there, and you know, when I wanted to switch, I would boot off of whatever. And so this is kind of the thing about Linux. Today was horrible, YouTube. And of the 3 installs I've done with this now, or the 4 installs of Cachy, so I have 4 devices now that have Cachy. I have 2 window hybrids that have both. That's a G14 and the Legion Go. And I have 2 old Windows laptops that are really old. And they just are straight Cachy. And so what I realize is easiest scenario was the Windows 10s, because I'm deleting everything. So it's easy. The partition stuff's pretty easy. So this morning I have an empty drive. I'm going to load it to an empty drive. Ta-da. So I download I go to CachyOS, and I scroll down. There's a desktop edition, and then there's a handheld edition. So I download the handheld edition. I try to write it. I think the other day I cryptically was complaining about other YouTubers that this guy was trying to load Cachy on Balin Etcher. I couldn't even get it. So I just booted up Windows, loaded Rufus, wrote it with Rufus, then was done with it. So I have one of my 32 gigabyte USB drives, and I'm uncertain about what's going to happen because the Legion Go does not have a USB port. So it has one USB-C port. It doesn't have a USB-A port. So I have since all my devices are pretty much USB-C now at this point, I have all kinds of dongles that let you extend it to a monitor and all that stuff. So I plugged that in. Actually, I had one from my Steam Deck that I still had left over. I gave my Steam Deck to my one of my sons. And so one of the videos said you need to plug in an old keyboard and an old mouse if you want to have access, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, and then one video I saw said, no, you don't need it. You needed it, right? So you needed it. And the screen was like super bright white. And so it was hard to read. I'm an old codger. So I finally write the USB thumb drive. I boot finally into the thumb drive. I had to disable the security boot, and like I stumbled over that, so I don't do it a lot. I can put the window controls on the left side of a KDE now. I know it by heart. I've done it so many times, but I don't partition drives all the time. So I do that. I load it up. Cachy loads into memory, and then I say install. Can't find the drive. Can't find the SDHC. So I go, oh, I see what I did. I had formatted it ahead of time. So now I unformatted. I went into Windows and formatted it. I unformatted it. Did it again. Didn't work. Didn't work. Couldn't see the drive. Eventually, I made space on the main hard drive, actual hard drive, shrunk the volume, then formatted it. Couldn't see it. So went back in, deleted it. So now I had free space on my contiguous hard drive. And on that free space, I put a installation of Cachy. So I'm going to use the other terabyte thing for all the other files. So that took quite a while. And then I have to feed people, animals, wives. And I got to walk Roxy. And it's the first snow. It's a wet, still warm. It's like 38, but it's still snowing. And so I load Division 2, I load Star Wars, I load Guild Wars, and blah, blah, blah. So now it's getting late. And the football games have been great all day in America. There was a game in Germany, and it was fantastic. So I finally am done with all my chores. I fed everyone. I'm going to play the Division, make a quick video, and do it. Now, in the Windows version of the Legion, you can put an overlay of the, frame counter and statistics, all those kind of things. That works in game mode. There's a button on the Legion Go that works in game mode, but in the desktop mode, it doesn't work. In the desktop mode in Windows, they made an icon that will just pull it up. Lenovo made a separate thing, so I don't have to press the buttons. I really didn't want to use... I'm familiar with the desktop mode. I'm not familiar with the gamer mode, so I'm running everything out of the desktop mode. So you'll see one of the things on the video is, I changed some of the settings and did all that. And now I'm here in the Division. I'm in doing a Legendary. But I'm having a freeze up every couple of minutes. Might be more than that. It's not really bad. But there's an alarm. But it's enough that maybe I don't have the settings tweaked correctly. So at this point, I've run Capital, Legendary, straight on into District Union Legendary, and we're really pushing really hard. So I did run this to a point where I've never been before, and I died. And they picked me up. We ended up finishing it. It was a great group and everything. The legendaries, these legendaries are so easy, or the supplemental players are just, the game's been around so long. They've seen so many of my videos. They know what they're doing. But it was fun. So we did that. And that's what you're seeing right now. You're going to see this until I cut it off. And then I'm going to just cut into the Roosevelt. I needed Roosevelt Island on this character. So in the back of my mind, it's great. Cachy boots up. It's really nice. But in the back of my mind, running games in desktop mode, there's a little hitch. And I can't see what the memory situation is. Also, I don't know if I have too much graphic memory. And I need to have more memory for the game, and that you got to change in the BIOS. So that's, I guess that's easy, but it's the thought of it. YouTube. The build I'm running is that Refractor, the healing build set, and it's just dumb. I purposely go forward in one part, not now, but in a different part, and die, and then we almost wipe because the healing's quite a bit. No matter how good the group is, the healing's still pretty important. So I'm thinking in my head, what's causing this? What's causing this? So you're going to see when I switch over to Roosevelt Island, I'm going to up the TDP, the thermal something properties, how much power I'm going to let it have. Now, what I didn't realize that this processor, when it's plugged in, goes up to 30 watts, which explains why it's so sweet. And I was playing this game on 15, so in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, maybe it's because it's on 15, and maybe that's what's going on. And so I keep thinking about this video where now I've had a couple mess ups, right? Like I've had, you know, listen, I believe in this Linux thing. Right. I was looking into my Mac to see, I can't switch my Mac yet, but I'm looking into the, you know, I really like the OS. It's optimized for the games and it's great. And one of those videos that I linked yesterday, the guy just, you know, it's so much better. It's so much better. But what I ran into are some of the problems that you run into. You have to understand. You have to have read everything at least once YouTube. They give you a little message, you got to read it. So for example, when Cachy was trying to install, it said, hey, to have EFI run your boot manager, you need these 3 things. So I had to keep changing the partitions so those 3 things were met. And it still didn't work. And that's when I wrote it off the main physical disk, because this is what I want you to think about. Your boot records is on the main physical disk. And there's no, if we were only booting off, if the system was only booting off the SDHC, then that would make sense to have a boot system on that SDHC. Otherwise, you have to point somehow. And so there's probably a way to do it, but YouTube, I wanted to give you this video so bad that I was just like, throttles all the way down. They said, put it to the wall. So, you know, I'm going full blast. And it makes sense when I put it on a partition of the computer, right? Let's go back for a second. In Windows 11, I always partition that disk. Number one, I used to make 100 gigabyte. Now I make a 150 or 200 gigabyte partition for Windows system, and I don't install anything but Windows in that system, because what you'll find out is you don't want to get less than 10%, because then you start having problems, and if you don't have space for it to grow, it's going to have problems, and it's just going to be, you know, usually it's around 90. 200 is a nice number. So, and then you put all your data everywhere else. So you can put your data wherever you want. But going over a rudimentary explanation of a disk, or looking up disk management and see how all the partitions are, is a good thing to look at and say, well, why is that there? And you might ask questions. And this is a time where you could search. So I've started running all the way to this tent every single time. There's a chunk that comes out here. Everyone normally plays from the whole opposite end, and you funnel them through the holes. These guys are so strong that they can just take all these guys down. I use this tent because it's just like you can shoot through the tent, by the way. I use the tent as a, you know, place to base where I'm at. So those guys kill that, then they're not going to wait. They're going to push back up. So we flipped the field and are going opposite. My build is the more enemies I have that I'm hitting, the more healing I'm putting out. We have one guy that's pretty tanky, I think. This is going to drop down 2 chungas, one on the left and one on the right. And a third chunga is dropped all the way by those doors, if you remember YouTube. What I got to worry about is just are my electronics. For convenience, I always light my electronics off at the same time, but in reality, you should stagger them so you always have one up. And you got to stagger it by, like, 15 seconds or whatever your cooldown is. So at this point, one guy's died, and let me look at the screen, YouTube. There's another one's going to die. So then it gets kind of pucker factor. And then at one point, I thought the third guy died, and I'm like, this is a bad place to wipe because you're pretty far along. And you kind of were show-offy when you came to the tent and are fighting opposite. But like I told you, I'm very conservative on these things. And a legendary is a legendary, and so I like to finish them. So here's where the thumbnail. And at some point, if we ever start conversing again, I see a lot of videos where they give like a little 30-second precursor and then the video goes on. And so sometimes I'll watch the video, not as much now, but I'll watch the video and think about, oh, is that where the title came from? So we survived this. Oh, this is Roosevelt, sorry. Yeah, here's the good thing. I need this really bad. I need Roosevelt. It's the weekly. I'm out of there. Sorry. Space to Earth to me. So we're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it, YouTube. Again, I want to like, subscribe, share, unsubscribe, resubscribe, maybe buy me a cup of coffee because YouTube. Because YouTube. I spent all day setting up my new Legion, and not my Lou, it's a year old, but I've now put it with Cachy, and I'm all excited, and everything's great. And look how great it is, YouTube. And I'm loving life, YouTube. And if it cuts off, it's not that I don't care about you. It's that Roxy doesn't care about you, and I will get her for that. But what you're going to see here, this hasn't happened to me in quite a while. Wait for it, YouTube. Almost there. And I'm like, I'm going to throw my turret out, and then I'm going to put it out in the middle there. What's this, YouTube? What's this, YouTube? What? Look at that, YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. Enjoy. Roninkaze out.